My name is Reagan. I am a master's student in advertising at Syracuse University. I would say that sustainable fashion is really just any brand within the fashion industry that's actively working to cut down on the impacts of production and distribution in fashion. It's obviously an industry that has a massive environmental impact, so anyone that's trying to mitigate some of that, I would say, is actively being sustainable. I think it's only going to improve if consumers make a decision collectively that they want it to improve. Until consumers give them a reason to change, they won't. But it's hard because consumers don't want to pay the prices that are typically attached to a sustainable item. So it's kind of this double edged sword, I think.
Do you think there are drawbacks for companies that aim to be more sustainable?
I think they take a much larger financial hit. There are certain things that you're going to pay more: sustainable packaging, sustainable distribution. I mean, to truly be a sustainable brand, you are paying so much more than the person who just goes to a factory in China and mass produces thousands of these items. So I would say the biggest drawback really is just the fact that you get to deal with a much higher price tag for production.
My name is Sarah from Sarasu Design. We are a Canadian sustainable, ethical fashion company. Price point is always sometimes hard to be as inclusive as possible. So we try to combat that with, because our pieces are more investment pieces, because we are making them for a true cost, what it does take to make the fabric, or what it does take to make the fabric, it's a higher price point. What it does take to make the clothing ethically is a higher price point. But to still offer our pieces for many people, we do our sample and mended sale. So sometimes we'll have, say, a garment that had a fabric flaw, or maybe there was a damage in it or something along the way. So instead of ending up in the landfill, we take it and do repairs and mends to it. And we're able to offer that at a really good price so that we can be accessible to many people. I do think sustainability, though, is just making the best choices you can and learning that every little bit you do does help. And it's hard for new brands to start out that way. But if you just keep looking and searching, sometimes you can find, say, for example, you're sourcing buttons or zippers. Sometimes you can find the exact same price point for one that's better manufactured. So choosing always the best option available. More research, sometimes it takes more work. Sometimes it does take a bit more budget. Things like our packaging, they're all our packaging is biodegradable and recycled paper and recycled tissue and all that. So just trying all the time you can is to examine your options and always choosing the best one.
My name is Alexis McDonald. I've always been into fashion, but I really got into sustainable fashion post college. The really small publication that I was working on did a sustainability issue. And so I learned all of these things that I had about the fashion industry. And then basically, since then, have been what I've been really focusing on. My full-time job is in marketing, but in my free time, I have my own sustainable fashion blog and page on Instagram where I really deep dive into the different issues. For me personally, what's most important is having an ethical like production model, so making sure that people are properly compensating their garment workers, making sure that they're utilizing systems that minimize waste, are closed loop or as closed loop as possible, since it's hard to have a perfect system like that, and repurposing old materials. Like for me, I try to utilize clothing that already exists in the world. So I would say 75 to 80% of the time I will shop secondhand first.
I'm really happy to see more and more small businesses and new designers and small designers have it as second nature. It's almost like when you're small or when you're starting out, that it's just a given that you're sustainable. So I just really wish it would start to be a bit more of a trickle up.